Hi everybody, this is Noelle from Petitti Garden Center, and we are doing a spotlight on peppers today. And I'm not going to go into lots of specific varieties, but we just want to talk about what you need to be successful with peppers. Most of your peppers are going to be what we call capsicum annum. And so there's 5 different types of species of peppers available worldwide. But there is estimated anywhere from 4,000 to 50,000 different varieties out there. So there's a lot of choice when it comes down to peppers, and everybody likes something different, and they like to use in different meals and cuisine and so forth. So we'll talk about different types of peppers as well. Okay, now to start out with, and as you probably know, peppers really love to be in full sun conditions. So 6 to 8 hours of sunlight or more is very preferable. It's the same as tomatoes, and that makes sense because they're both in the nightshade family along with eggplants, potatoes, that type of thing. Okay, so that 6 or more hours of sunlight is considered a full sun condition. They definitely enjoy that here in Northeast Ohio. Soil needs to be well drained, but again, very fertile. So we always recommend adding organic matter to your soil. That could be compost, it could be sweet peat, it could be a lot of different organics that you're putting in there. But as long as that soil is rich and fertile, that's always going to be a really good thing for your peppers. And again, most of your nightshade family really likes that too. And most of your gardening plants do really like a nice, well-drained but fertile soil. So always a good thing to have. Here's a key with soil and peppers when you're growing peppers. The soil needs to be at about 60 degrees or higher before you plant your peppers outside in garden beds. The reason being is if the soil is cooler than that, your peppers are not going to thrive. You're going to plant, and then they are going to sit there and just kind of do nothing for you. And sometimes Angelo Petitti will say they end up going backwards, especially if you put them in cold soil, okay? So do try to plant those peppers. And if you don't have a soil thermometer, that's okay. Ideally, what we're looking at is air temperatures, okay, between 70 and 80 degrees during the day, and actually 60 to 70 degrees at night. So we really it would benefit the peppers in the long run to wait until we get warmer for the growing season to install them. So keep that in mind. Soil temperatures, air temperatures, we want them to be warmer. And of course, the peppers really like warmer conditions in general. Okay. Next thing is water. And as we talk about, again, the nightshade family, consistent, even watering is a really, really good thing because ultimately it helps reduce your blossom end rot that can occur. And so you might have heard of blossom end rot before on tomatoes because it's very common, but it's also common with peppers. So if you've ever seen that black kind of rotten end or bottom or base of your pepper, that's blossom end rot. And again, the best way to control that is just consistent, even watering or irrigation. So in the ground, like most plants that we grow, you want to water 1 inch of water 1 time per week, very slow, deep watering. We'll often recommend soaker hoses, drip irrigation, those types of methods, especially when growing your garden crops, because you're putting the water right at the root base and it is trickling slowly down through the soil and doing its job. And of course, letting the plant roots move down through the soil as well. So again, slow irrigation. If you're growing peppers in pots, which is a great idea because when you grow peppers in pots, you can get them started much earlier. So growing peppers in pots and watering, you need to make sure that, again, that soil stays evenly moist, okay? They can go slightly dry. That's not a problem for peppers. And actually, drier soil conditions, especially for your hot peppers, can actually increase the heat with them. So just keep that in mind. So slightly dry is okay, but that even moisture is really going to reduce other issues like blossom end rot in the long run. Okay, so that's your sun, soil, water. Okay, now the next thing is typically fertilizer, and what we like to use and recommend for our garden plants, especially in the nightshade family, is tomato tone. And you think, oh, well, tomato tone, of course, I'll use it on my tomatoes. Well, it's really great for any of those nightshade members, and it's very good for the garden in general. But tomato tone has extra calcium, and extra calcium is also very beneficial in reducing, you said it, blossom end rot. So how many times have I said blossom end rot today, Taylor? So needless to say, that added calcium, when you're planting and installing the peppers, go ahead and use tomato tone. It works really well. If you don't have tomato tone and you want to get planted today, garden tone, of course, is very, very good. I'd recommend adding a little bit of garden lime if you have it, to give yourself a little bit more calcium into the soil as well. So again, both of those things work nicely. Now, I should mention growing peppers in containers. They don't need a lot of space, and even in the garden, spacing them out is usually about every 18 to 24 inches. So 1.5 to 2 feet. So they don't take up a lot of space, but it's always good to give them that space to get good air circulation around those plants. And I'm talking about this a lot when we plant. You want to make sure that you get good air space, so you get good airflow through those plants. Again, it helps with evaporation. It also helps reduce disease on the foliage of the peppers. So keep that in mind when you are planting. Spacing is always good. In containers, however, we can put and grow peppers very, very well in like a 12 by 12 inch pot. They don't need a lot of depth of soil, but 10 to 12 inches depth is usually really good. 12 inches wide is great. And one pepper you'd want to grow in that pot. We've done an experiment before trying to grow different types of peppers in that 12 by 12 inch pot. Go ahead and put a really nice like planting mix or potting soil. Go ahead and put your fertilizer in. Go ahead and plant those peppers. Maybe plant them with a companion plant. So I'll mention those in just a second. And then go ahead and care for them. If you plant them in a darker pot that will absorb more sun and heat, that'll heat up the soil a lot faster for you. So therefore, you can actually plant your peppers earlier because, again, that soil temperature has come up and is nice and warm earlier in the season. Okay, so that's one way to start our peppers really, really early. And I think Ohio State University, actually, I was reading doing some little research before I did the video today, and they were saying growing peppers from seed outdoors when it's safe to grow them after frost is a really, really long process, and lots of us will not be successful with that because we just don't have a long enough growing season. Growing them from seed indoors, no problem. Getting them started late March, early April, and then growing on those plants, no problem whatsoever. And then, of course, you would slowly transition them outdoors after the last chance of frost and get them ready to go and planted in the garden. Okay, so they are a long crop to get started from seed. But if you have plant starters, of course, that are ready to go, have a nice big root system, whenever you're shopping for a pepper, look for at least 7 to 9 leaves started on that pepper. And then, of course, if you want to, you can give it a little bit of a tug and make sure that you have roots running through the pot as well and through the soil. Okay, so nice healthy white roots right there. So this is a Cubanel pepper that I'm just holding up here. And again, we have plenty of leaves, plenty of stem ready to go, ready to plant, okay, in the pots or in the ground. All right. Next thing that I wanted to mention with peppers, of course, is maintenance. And if you can get out there and scout your peppers daily, every other day, your plants are going to benefit from it. Scouting daily is just looking out for issues, for disease, for insect issues, all of those types of things. And if you can get out there, identify the issue, or have us help you identify the issue, of course, and then go in and prevent the issue. And sometimes it might just be an insect. Let's say there's some aphids on the pepper plants that you see right at the growth tips, because they like that very soft, succulent new foliage. Go ahead and you can typically take a cold spray of water and just try to spray them off or knock them off. You can also just take your fingers and literally just squish them around the area, or pinch that growing tip off and remove it and dispose of it. And then you've taken care of the aphids in that area. So again, there's many ways to kind of take care of problems, pests, and disease on your edible plants before you have to go in and do some spraying treatments or what have you. For the most part, we'd recommend things like neem oil. Neem oil is a natural control, and it works for many pests, many diseases, and also for mites. So do think about that before you use a spray control, though, because you can sometimes take care of the pest or the problem before it happens. If you see on the lower leaves of your pepper plants, they're yellowing or maybe browning down at the bottom. If we have cool, wet seasons, that'll happen where the base of that plant will kind of start to get some disease, some mildew, those types of things. Remove those leaves as best you can. That plant's going to grow up, it's going to fill out, and it's going to do its thing. Okay, so just keep in mind, there's a real benefit of scouting through your plant material, identifying the issue, trying to prevent the issue, and continue to monitor the issue. Okay, so that's something to keep in mind as well. Companion plants. There's lots of companions that grow very, very well with peppers. We had a ton of success with growing nasturtium and peppers together. Nasturtium is a trap crop. It's a flowering annual that grows very, very well alongside many different plants, but it attracts a lot of insects to it, so you don't have the issues on your edible plants. So in our case, it attracted a lot of aphids away from our peppers, and it just did a really, really nice job. Kept on blooming, growing, attracting pollinators to the plants, and of course, more pollination that you can, have around your plant material, the better yields it's going to produce for you. Okay, so that's always a really good thing too. Besides the nasturtium, of course, marigolds work very, very well. We like to grow basil with our peppers and tomatoes as well, so that works really nicely. Geraniums grow really well with peppers, so if you want to intermingle your peppers and geraniums, you can of course do that. Carrots and also onions. So those are all really good companions for your pepper plants. Okay, let's talk about peppers in general, and there's just so many different varieties, as I mentioned before, but I typically tend to class them in the sweets. So you have all of your sweet bells and your sweet horn varieties, which are usually the longer peppers there. And then it's in the hots. And oh my gosh, there's so many different hot varieties out there, spicy varieties as well. So with the sweets, let's just start with the sweets. And you'll have your standard bell peppers, of course, typically 3 and 4 lobes. You can see 3 lobes here on the bottom of this red pepper, 4 lobes here on this green pepper. Lots of common varieties that you have grown before, things like Big Bertha, Baron, and that type of thing. So those sweet bell peppers are very common for us. I will say it does help to plant these early so you can get regular, even harvests from bell peppers. Typically in Northeast Ohio, when we grow bell peppers in the garden, we're not going to get a huge harvest. It's like growing a big tomato. It takes a lot of energy, right, and a lot of care to get, a nice big pepper. So typically we get anywhere from, let's say, 6 to 10 peppers on one pepper plant when you're growing a bell pepper. Okay, so just keep that in mind. If you're growing, it does take a little bit longer time to get some good development. Of course, your bell peppers can be plucked as green, or you leave them on the vine, and typically they will get, I shouldn't say vine, I should say more of a bushy plant, but you get my meaning. They will turn red, and as they mature, they get more sweet. Okay, so keep that in mind as well. Some of us like the real tangy green pepper. Some of us want to wait and get that much sweeter pepper, red pepper going. Okay, same thing. You'll find bell peppers in all different colors. You'll find the golden yellows. You'll find the purples. So just keep that in mind. There's lots of varieties out there for your sweet bell peppers. Okay. There's also some peppers that produce a smaller bell, or sometimes it comes out as a nice bell shape. Sometimes it comes out as more of like a pointed wedge, maybe a little bit smaller than this that I'm holding up. And these would be more indicative of like a confetti pepper, something that again is very sweet. Confetti is a variegated leaf pepper, so lots of folks will look at it and say, "Oh, there's white spots on there." It's actually supposed to be ornamental, so it has some white foliage to it, but it will produce smaller sweet peppers, sometimes a bell shape, sometimes more of this like wedge shape, if you will. So do keep in mind that there's, again, lots of variety out there. So just look at your tags, it'll describe it for you, and it'll do really, really well. Okay, another sweet type that I have is like a long Italian horn, okay? So this is like what we would call like a giant Marconi, an Italian frying pepper, stuffing pepper. They're going to have that long shape, a little bit of a tapered end. They might have some lobes to them. Like this one actually has 3 full lobes to it. Some of them are very cylindrical, very smooth. So you will find that these peppers will stay nice and sweet. And when they do get roasted, fried, stuffed, and baked, they're delicious, and they just get sweeter as well. So these are great peppers to grow. Again, because they are a little bit larger and do take a lot of energy, they're a little bit faster producing than some of your standard bells, but they will do a good job for you. Again, anywhere from, let's say, 6 to a dozen peppers will grow on one plant for you through the season. Another pepper that's similar to this is going to be your sweet banana peppers, okay? So there's lots of different varieties of sweet banana peppers. And when I was talking about that cylindrical shape, this one doesn't have any lobes. It's just a nice, long, tapered cylinder, obviously a banana shape to it. And also the coloring. So you'll find that some of the banana peppers, when they're early, will be a lighter yellow color. If you leave them on the vine, of course, they will turn a darker golden yellow. They will get some orange, get some red coloring to them as well. Again, giving them a little bit more of a sweeter flavor to them. But again, wonderful frying, roasting, stuffing peppers. You can eat these fresh, you can pickle them. So there are lots of options that you can use these types of sweet peppers as well. So those are really common sweets. Okay, now let's move into maybe our more spicy peppers, okay? And I'm gonna show you one that's really popular in our neck of the woods. It's the Cubanel pepper. Now you're gonna say, Noelle, I thought Cubanel peppers were sweet. Well, they have just a little bit of spice to them. So I'm going to explain Scoville heat units to you, because it's really good to know when you're coming and looking for your pepper plants. So Scoville heat units are a measurement of the pungency or the spiciness of a pepper, okay? And this Scoville heat unit scale was developed in the 1900s. It was by Wilbur Scoville. And what he did is he was measuring the capsaicin levels in the peppers. So he would take taste testers, and then he would take a sugar water solution, and it was like how much sugar water will dilute the pungency of the pepper until you can't taste it anymore. That's kind of how they test it. We don't test like that anymore, folks. We don't have taste testers. We use chromatography now in a lab to go ahead and measure capsaicin levels. So they're pretty accurate out there. But the Cubanel pepper, which is obviously a very cool pepper, it is a stuffing pepper or roasting pepper. It does have lobes to it, so you can tell three big lobes here on this one. Has kind of a unique shape. Every once in a while you'll find them wrinkled. They're not the most perfect pepper out there, but they're very, very juicy, very nice, very tasty. But they aren't a zero sweet pepper like the bell pepper. They started about 500, and they, as far as SHU or Scoville heat units, okay? So they do have some pungency to them, and they go up to about 1,000. So they're not a real hot pepper. They're very, very mild on the Scoville scale. But I just wanted to let you know that there are some peppers out there that have a little bit of that pungency to them, that we'd still kind of keep in that lower spice level. So this is a Cubanel, very, very common in this area, very popular. And again, just has a little bit of spiciness to it. Okay. Now, as we move up the scale, I should probably show you this one. This is also a real popular pepper. This is a poblano pepper. And poblanos are used obviously in a lot of Mexican cuisine. Still considered to be mildly spicy, but they do have some SHU, again, anywhere from, let's say, 1,000 to 3,000. I'm going to make sure Taylor corrects me if I get the ranges wrong, but that's where we're about. So again, mild spicy on the poblanos. These are very, very popular peppers in Mexican cuisine. We see a lot of these stuffed, roasted, and also dried. And when you see a poblano pepper dried, it's actually it's called an ancho. Okay, so so that's good to know, again, because some of your peppers out there in cuisines or part of recipes, they'll change depending if they're fresh or if they're dried. Okay, so that's something really beneficial. The anchos the poblanos are wedge shaped. They're typically a very dark green. They usually have two lobes, so that's kind of what you see, half and half here with these peppers. And they are excellent, very, very tasty, wonderful. I have a lot of different uses here. So that's kind of the next step up into that mild, spicy SHU, okay? Now, you will be very familiar with this pepper. And of course, these are jalapenos, okay? Now, jalapenos, we move up in the scale. So jalapenos have a wider range of pungency, anywhere, let's say, from 2,000 SHU all the way up to 8,000 SHU, okay? Now, jalapenos, there's lots of different varieties. Some can be larger, like a gigante, which is a larger jalapeno that we grow. Some can be just a standard size jalapeno. Of course, you know, folks will roast these, stuff these, eat them fresh, pickle them, all of those good things, right? And so your jalapenos, and this is a really good segue to this, is that your jalapenos, when green, are going to be a little bit lower in that capsaicin or spiciness. When they turn red, they do get, again, more spicy, okay? So they will eventually turn red for you. There is a little bit of debate out there as far as like what makes a spicy pepper more spicy. And again, there's a lot that goes into the climate that you're growing in, the maturity of the plant, and of course the maturity of the fruit that's being developed. So, and again, how hot the season has been too. So when I mentioned before, when peppers get a little bit drier and get a little bit stressed, they end up developing more capsaicin in them. So they end up getting spicier. So just keep that in mind when you're growing some of these spicy peppers, okay? They can get hotter as they get more mature, for sure. And the other thing that I should have mentioned is when we start using spicy peppers and start cooking with them and processing them, Make sure you are wearing gloves, okay? That's really, really key with these guys. And make sure you are washing your hands really well after you're done processing and cooking with them. And make sure you're not touching your face, especially your nose, your eyes, and all those types of things. You have to be really, really cautious when you work with spicy peppers. Okay, so good cautionary note there. Jalapenos. So again, different types of plants. I do have a jalapeno that I know I've shown you all before. And again, these jalapenos are not quite mature yet. So we're still waiting for them to get to be a more mature size. But jalapeno peppers are very, very easy to grow, very productive, do a really nice job for us. Still considered mildly spicy. I would put them kind of the mild to medium spice level for me. And I do like hot peppers, but I don't get far past a jalapeno as far as enjoyment out there. So just keep that in mind. Next step up, I wanted to show you is a serrano pepper, and I'm gonna compare this to a jalapeno. So serranos are green, similar looking. They still have that curvature of the jalapeno, except they're thinner typically, and they are hotter, okay? So you get that, Taylor? She's trying to give you a close-up, folks. So serranos are definitely hotter than your jalapenos. You're looking at anywhere from, let's say, 5,000 SHU up to like 15,000 SHU. So they definitely are, if you like the flavor of jalapenos and you want them to be more spicy, you might want to try the serrano because it still gives you that kind of smoky spiciness, definitely more pungency. Okay, so just keep that in mind. All right, serranos are the next step up. All right, now, the last one that I have to show you is a habanero. So we bump way up into these much hotter spicy peppers here. Habanero has a very unique shape to it. It's kind of it's a more of a bulbous pepper. And I think, and I shouldn't generalize, but I think for the most part, when you see peppers that have kind of a unique shape to them, a unique color, maybe a little bit of a pointed end that pops up like scorpion peppers, they tend to be very hot. Okay, so these are super hots, and I'm talking 300,000 SHU and more. When you get into the scorpions, the ghost peppers, the Carolina Reapers, now you get up into millions of SHU units. So again, very, very, very hot, okay? Incendiary, I guess, is one way to put them. So do be aware of that. I know lots of folks use the habaneros in, hot sauces, dried, and all of those types of things too in different dishes. So it just kind of depends what you like. But again, if you're finding these very unique shapes, typically they are very, very hot peppers. Okay, I forgot that I had something that was a hot chili. Oh no. Oh, here it is. I'm sorry, folks. This is a true chili, okay? And this chili here, this would be like a super chili pepper, what have you, and you'll find these very, very common. These types of chilies are typically small, usually bright red when harvested. Again, this is what you find most of your chili sauce to be made out of, or chili pepper flakes to be made out of. Lots of these chilies can grow dangling down on the plant. Some varieties will produce them like this. So you might see the plant bushy, and then the flowers and the pepper development kind of stick straight up in the air. So you'll see them both ways, just depending on what chili variety that you do use. But again, this is very, very common for those hot, spicy dishes. Obviously, if you like hot chili, but this is typically your standard chili pepper. Much smaller than the serrano, smaller than maybe the same length as a jalapeno, but obviously much skinnier. And this is kind of that hot chili level, but not just before the super hot level. So I'll have Taylor put the SHU units for this chili pepper as well. Totally forgot I had it. So with your peppers, so we did varieties. Now we are moving on to just a quick recap. Again, full sun conditions, 6 to 8 hours or more of sunlight in the garden. Warm, rich soils, right? Don't plant your chilies too early in the season. Yes, last chance of frost in our neck of the woods is usually around mid-May, but that soil needs to warm up for them to really start doing some growth and development for you, okay? Fertile soils, make sure you're amending them with organic matter. That's always really important. Do feed them with tomato tone. That's always a really good fertilizer for your pepper family. And make sure that you are spacing them out, getting good air circulation through them, scouting daily for those issues. If you ever have any questions about what is going on with your plant material, please let us know. Enjoy.